Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special edition. We have an amazing guest today in the studio with us. Mr. Matthew Williams is a serial entrepreneur, a podcaster, a speaker, a coach, a mentor with an exceptional story that will change your life for good. The subject for this conversation is, how do you overcome setbacks, regardless of what that setback is? How do you overcome the setbacks of life and maintain a positive spirit? And there is no one else that has walked this journey that can guide you on how to maintain that positive spirit other than Matthew Williams. Mr. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Roland, thank you so much for having me on. I am really excited to be here with you today.
Mr. Matthew, for those who are getting to hear you for the very first time, can you briefly introduce yourself and what is it that you do?
Yeah, so I've been a serial entrepreneur. I've owned 10 different businesses over the last 22 years. I've started all of them from scratch except for one of them. I bought it, but the rest of them I started from the ground up. Along with all of that, I was pastoring a church for a season in the middle of all of that, and being able to learn how to lead people and lead teams and build organizations, cast vision, and be able to build successful, thriving organizations where people love coming to work and love being part of the organization and loving what they're doing.
Wow. So, Mr. Matthew, we are speaking to an audience that have experienced setbacks in their lives of various kinds.
Yeah.
We are coming out of a situation where our country has been at war for close to 9 years now.
Wow.
We've lost over 40,000 people.
That's a lot of people.
And there are young men, as we speak right now, with guns still fighting. Broken families, homes burnt. The entire nation is at a state of confusion. Mr. Matthew, how have you been able to overcome the setbacks that you have personally experienced in your life and maintain a positive spirit?
Yeah, I mean, today I can have a positive attitude, but I can tell you that throughout the journey of life, I've had major wins, major fails. I've had businesses fail along the way. Times where I've been completely broken, lost everything. Times I've had to start over and rebuild again. There's been other numerous losses in my life, but I can tell you that through adversity, the more challenges that you have, the harder that it is, the bigger the lesson you can learn in it. And I think attitude is a choice. I believe that you get to choose what kind of attitude you're going to have. You cannot choose what's going to happen to you. You can't choose what anybody else is going to do, what they're going to say. In your situation where you have a country at war, there's a war that happens and people are fighting and people are dying and you're not there. You're not the one dying. You're not the one fighting, or maybe you are the one fighting, but it wasn't your decision that this person that you love died. This isn't your decision. This stuff just happens. And so whether you have loss in different areas, you can have loss in all kinds of areas of life. But when you face loss and you face adversity and you face hardships, you have an option. You can say, well, I'm going to choose to allow what happened to me to define me, or you can say, I'm going to choose to move forward. And it's not what happened to you that defines you. It's who you decide that you're going to be that's going to define you. It all happens in your mindset. What you decide is who you're going to be. If you think that the past is what's going to define you, it will. If you think that what you determine your future is going to be, it will. And I'm a man of faith. And so I also happen to believe in God and happen to believe that God put us on earth for a destiny and for a purpose. And if you're still here, then God ain't done with you. Like there's more to be done in this world. You have more purpose in your life. You are not here by accident. You're here on purpose by design, and God isn't done with you, which means this is so you get stuck in the mindset of like, well, what happened yesterday is going to limit what I can do tomorrow. It's like, listen, I don't know about you, but I serve a God that says that we have a bigger future and we have bigger promises. And my source isn't what happened to me. My source is what my creator says I am.
Wow, that is amazing. You touch on something so deep. Someone who is watching this, Mr. Matthew, will say, "Ah, you don't get it. You don't live in Cameroon.
I
You
don't.
don't understand how it feels." So, what is your personal story? What you've experienced, and how you were able to overcome that experience to maintain this positive energy? Because your story is what really moved me, that got me thinking. I'm like, if there is anyone to speak to my people,
Yeah.
I think your story resonates.
So, I mean, I guess, can you remind me which part of the story that you were talking about that really helped me
Okay,
understand where you're going?
Mr. Matthew, you started with an amazing background and career that you've had.
Yeah.
You had multiple businesses.
Yeah.
You had a relationship, you were married and had kids.
Yeah.
And through this journey, you had setbacks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I
And
lost everything. Like when I say everything, I mean, I lost everything. And I lost my wife. I lost the church that I was pastoring. I lost a business that was a massive loss for me, financially massive hit. And at the end of it all, when the dust settled, I still had business and I still had some finances, but who cares? Like money is a great tool, but it's a cruel and harsh master. And so if you're
mm,
chasing money, if you're chasing popularity, if you're chasing fame, if you're chasing any of that stuff, it is a harsh master. You don't want that. The things that really, really matter in life are the relationships that you have and the purpose that God's given you. And when you lose all of that, you lose everything. I lost everything, man. I lost everything that I would have considered important to me. And some of it was by my own doing. I made decisions where and some things were not by my doing. There were decisions that were made by other people and actions that were taken by other people that had nothing to do with me. And some of it was stuff that I had to do with me. And so I have to own my part. I can't own their part, but I have to own that. And now it's like I found myself, really in a dark cave of depression, a long time of having a hard time just getting out of bed in the morning. I had a
yeah.
hard time to even barely function, to do anything, and the adversity that I had to go through, and then realizing that what I went through doesn't define me. What the struggles that I've gone through aren't what make me who I am. My identity is not rooted and grounded. My identity is not found in what's happened to me. It's so easy to get stuck in that too. Well, you just don't understand, Matt. You aren't in Cameroon and you're not in war. You're right. I'm not there and I don't understand, but you do. And you can understand and you can say like, well, it's helpless. If you start to take on this thing where it's the outside stuff that determines your value and your purpose and your identity and your outlook on life, you become the victim.
Mm,
And if you become the victim, this victim mindset will start to set inside of you. And here's where the victim mindset gets really tricky. And
okay.
it's like a triangle. Okay. If you think
Yeah.
of a triangle shape, one point is the victim. If you're a victim, that means you have to have a victimizer. That means somebody is victimizing you, and that makes you
Yeah.
the victim.
Yeah.
And if you're the victim and you can't overcome what the victimizer is doing to you, you need this other person up top, and that's the hero. And you need a hero to come save you from the victimizer so that you are no longer the victim. And you
Wow.
get stuck in this victim mindset and you think, well, I can't do anything. I'm just stuck here. I can't do anything, right? And the thing is like if you get stuck in that mindset, then you're looking to the external for a hero and you're looking for someone. And we do this. We do this in the United
Yeah.
States. We do this
Yeah.
in every country. This is a human thing. And we're
Yeah.
looking for a military leader. We're looking for a political leader. We're looking for a social leader. We're looking for somebody else to rise up. And that person's then going to be our hero. And that's how we're going to get stuck out of our victim mindset. But that's not the way it really works. Because if you get stuck in the victim mindset, you feel helpless and you're not going to do anything. But what you got to realize is that you aren't a victim. Bad things happen to you, but you can be your own hero. and you can rise above. And it all happens right here between the ears. If you believe it, that's what's going to happen. If you believe, I can't do anything because, oh, those guys over there, or you eventually come to the place like, you know what, I can't control everything, but I can control this piece. And I'm going to control my piece, and I'm going to control my headspace. I'm going to control my outlook on life. You know, it's Mother Teresa said this. It's like, I can't feed the whole world, but I can feed one. And so,
Oh, yeah.
right. And so she said, like, I'm just going to feed this one child in front of me because this one child is hungry. So I'm going to feed this one. And then there happens to be another one, and there happens to be another one. And Mother Teresa goes down in history having changed a huge section of the world with her mission and her outreach, with helping orphans and kids and people that were down and out. But she wasn't trying to change the whole world. She was just trying to change one. And so the first person you got to change is you. You got to change you first. Okay, I'm going to take ownership of me. You know, I can't be the lifeguard and save somebody out of the swimming pool if I'm not strong enough to save them. So I got to work on me and build myself up. And then I can also start to build up those around me. And if you look out and you see thousands and thousands, 40,000 people died, you see this war that's going on for 9 years. What can I do? Like, what can I do to stop this whole war? I'm just one person. You're right. You're just one person. And maybe you can't stop everything that's going on in the world. And it's overwhelming. The things that are coming at us are like a tidal wave coming after us. And so rather than seeing this massive wave come in and just totally wipe us out, we can say, you know what? I'm not going to look at all of that. I'm going to say, this is where I'm at today. This is where Matthew's at today. This is where Roland's at today. This is where you're at today. And I can say, I have the impact and the ability to say, I'm going to choose this one person in front of me. I can change my son. I can change my daughter.
Yeah.
I can change my spouse. I can change my uncle or my aunt. I can change my cousins. I can have impact on these people. And when you start to realize that, then those people start to become empowered, and they become self-empowering, and they start to reach out and impact the one. And you create a movement, and it's not a one-person movement. It's a whole group of people movement. And so you got to rise up out of victimhood. And I don't care if you've been abused as a child. I don't care if you have been raped. I don't care if somebody in your family got murdered. I don't care what you've been through. I'm not saying that it isn't real. It absolutely is real. But ultimately, if you rest and stay stuck in victimhood and allow what happened to you to define you, there is a point in time where you have to take ownership over yourself and say, okay, what happened to me was terrible.
Yeah.
And I can acknowledge that what happened to me was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But guess what? I am going to rise above that. And now I'm going to start to say, I can take ownership of me.
So, Mr. Matthew, what you're saying is it starts from the place where you take responsibility 100%.
Yes.
That what can I do?
Yes.
Not what someone else can do. And
Mm-hmm.
if I change myself, then I can change my children, I can change my spouse, and then I can go on to change my cousins and nephews, aunties and uncles. And
Mm-hmm.
then that is the effect that we create when it starts with me.
It's called breaking generational patterns or breaking generational curses. Just because your dad was an alcoholic doesn't mean you have to be an alcoholic. Just because your grandmother did this doesn't mean you have to do this. You know, sometimes we think, oh, well, that's just where I came from. You know, just because there's been war going on in my country for as long as I can remember doesn't mean there has to be war continuing to go on. I can be the change agent, and I can't change the whole world, but I can change my little part of the world. And when you take responsibility and you take ownership, you don't have to take responsibility of everything going on in the world. You only take responsibility, 100% responsibility of what I'm doing and who I am and what I can control. I can only control me. And so I can only control my thoughts. You know, your thoughts are a powerful, powerful place. What you think about, what you meditate on, that stuff will start to become your reality. And it's like putting on pink sunglasses and everything looks pink all of a sudden. You put on yellow sunglasses, everything looks yellow. So if you're putting on vision sunglasses of defeat and victimhood, everything you see is going to start to be defeat and victimhood.
Oh, that's so good. That's good. That's good. So Mr. Matthew, to help us have context on this,
Absolutely.
I mean, like, I would like to dive a little bit deep into what you've said to help us have context. This whole issue that my nation is dealing with started in 1961.
I wasn't alive in 1961.
Yeah. So we were we were coming out of colonization.
Uh-huh.
and then we got independence.
Nice.
So, yeah, so part of the nation speaks French, another part speaks English. So 25% speaks English, while 75% speaks French. So we came together, we can make things work. Let's come together and build a nation.
Yeah.
Now, the 25%, which is where I come from, feels like they have not been treated well in this nation.
Because they're the minority.
The minority.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is we've communicated our grievances and we have not been heard. So the best way for us to solve this problem is split the nation and go our separate ways.
Okay.
So in an attempt to do that, they bought guns and raised young men to go fight a formidable military.
Wow.
So we have military government on the other hand, and then we have civilians on the other hand. So this is the gridlock that created this chaos. So that is why I said, let me put it in context so that we can understand like where this vehicle is going or where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
So young men are caught up in this problem. Citizens are caught up in this problem. Some of them were not alive when it started.
Yeah.
So what do you say to a people that have this mindset coming out of this kind of situation or find themselves in this situation? How can they break free?
So what's the end goal here? I mean, if the end goal is to have peace, or is the end goal to create two different countries? Is the end goal just to have peace and respect? It sounds like the minority was not being respected by the majority. And that's
Yes.
what fed this, right?
Yes.
And so now you have civilians arming up, coming against a full-on government military. Are you earning respect? Right? Are you getting peace? Are you getting, like, what do you really want here? Right? You want to raise your family in a place that has peace, that has prosperity, that you can provide well and you can live a good life and you can, love your kids and love your spouse and love your family. I mean, those are the kind of the end goals. And so, I don't know the intricacies to be able to speak too deeply into that. But what I can say is what are you thinking about, and what are you thinking about as this relates, right? Are you thinking I can't wait to kill the other side, or right?
Yeah.
I wake up, I just hope I get to kill somebody before they kill me, and if that's what you're thinking about, that's what's your whole mindset's going to be focused on that. But if your mindset is focused on, no, I want peace and prosperity for my family. Well, maybe the best answer for peace and prosperity isn't war. Maybe the answer for peace and prosperity is making a compromise of some sort. Like, that's the way the world works, is nobody gets everything that they want.
Yeah.
I don't get everything I want. Nobody gets everything that they want. And if you're sitting on your side saying, I'm going to fight until I get everything that I want, you're going to be fighting a very, very long time, and it may never end.
Powerful.
And so you got to ask, what do I really want? And what really matters to me? What's the most important thing? And that's what you got to be focusing on is, I want peace and prosperity for my family. I want my kids to grow up not in a war zone. I want my kids to grow up in a place where they can build a life that they're proud of and find someone to love and to make children with, and to like, if that's what I would want, at least, and if that's what you really want, then maybe sometimes we get so focused on, the ancillary things in life that we miss the main things.
Yeah.
We get so focused on, well, if we can just beat back this level of army, if I can just overcome this one obstacle, then I'll find the happiness I want. But the problem is you never find that happiness if you're chasing it that way. When you're chasing the things that happiness is an inside job, peace is an inside job, contentment is an inside job. It comes from the inside out. It doesn't come from the outside in. And if you think something out there has to change for you to find happiness and peace and joy, you're mistaken. It's not ever going to happen, no matter what it is. Because when you beat that enemy, there's another one you're going to want to beat, and another one you're going to beat, and you'll always be in struggle, and you'll always be striving, and you'll always be trying so hard, and you'll never end. And you're going to live in a place of constant like anxiety and fight or flight, and trying to overcome some obstacle that's out there. I think clearly defining what our actual win is. And actual win may not be if we take this much land and separate it into our own country. Maybe the actual win is, hey, we want a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like, okay, we are 25% and they are 75%.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer is we just want a fair share of a voice of input. We want 25% representation in the government because we are here and we are there. Maybe the answer is that. And no, maybe it's, I don't know how to speak deep into this subject because I'm not familiar with all of the intricacies, but ultimately you got to decide what it is you actually want in your heart. What do you really want? If you were to wish something for your children, what would you wish for them? I know what I wish for my kids. I wish for my kids to have a better life than I had. I want my kids starting line to be where my finish line is. I want them to stand on my shoulders and reach for greatness. I think every parent wants their kids to have a better life than what they had.
Yeah.
And it might mean that finding a path for peace that has some level of compromise in it that allows you to build that to be able to give your kids what you know your kids deserve. Sometimes as parents, we don't get what we want. And as parents, we have to make sacrifices so our kids have a better life. Maybe the sacrifice is finding a way for the war to end. And maybe you don't get everything you want, but maybe you get enough for your kids to be able to have a better life than you.
Powerful. That is, I mean, like, I love the way we handled this because we didn't actually talk about the problem in depth. And I wanted to throw it out and see how you handle it from a neutral perspective. Right. And what you said aligns with what I've been proposing and also what I have in this book, The Cameroon Dream, that I wrote.
Oh, nice. I didn't know you wrote a book.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm glad the way you nailed it because we can't really get everything that we want in life.
No.
But we all agree that having a safe environment for your kids and the people that you care about should be top priority.
Yeah. You want safety and prosperity at whatever level that looks like.
Because if someone, say from the United States, wants to invest in a country like mine, they wouldn't want to do that because right now there is no peace.
Oh yeah, no. Investors aren't going to want to invest because there's no stability.
So exactly. And so the whole idea was, can we unite, especially in the private sector? Because the people think they don't have power. They believe that the power is with the government. And what you are saying here is it starts with you. You have the power. You can take responsibility and change your life. So back to the conversation, Mr. Matthew. What was that defining moment for you? Because after this video, I know it will be a defining moment for someone listening. Like when you came back and realized everything was scattered, like everything was messed up, you saw your life going down. What was that defining moment for you?
Oh man, boy. So it was a process. It wasn't an instantaneous moment. It was a process over several years of having some failures and some wins and having some failures and wins and realizing it just took time. Process. There was one moment where I realized I had lost everything in my entire life. There was one moment, now that I think about it. And that moment, I was sitting in a bed, not in my house. I was renting a room in somebody else's house at the moment. And I was laying in that bed and I realized everything in my life had collapsed. And I was laying there complaining to God. I would call it, I was trying to pray, but I was complaining to God. And I was like, God, why? Why did this person do this? Why did that person do this? I can't believe this person did that. I can't believe this person did that. And I was sitting there and I was so angry at everyone else for what they had done to me over the previous few years of my life and how they'd abandoned me. They'd betrayed me. They betrayed my trust. They undermined what I was doing. My wife was undermining me for 2 to 3 years on everything that I was doing. And it was just an absolute devastating blow to me. My parents were doing things that were undermining. People I thought were my best friends were undermining me on other things. I realized that my life was being undermined from all these different people. And I was playing the victim and I was saying, why did those people They were all my victimizers, and I was the victim, and I was laying helplessly in my bed in this room that I had rented and thinking my entire life is over. There was this moment where I was laying there and that whole process was in my head. And I realized it's not what happens to me that defines me. It's what I do with what happens to me that defines me. It's what I decide to do with my life moving forward that defines me. And it was one of those moments. It took me about a week or so really kind of meditating on that before I realized no one's coming. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to get you up in the morning and go to the gym. Nobody is coming to bring you food. Nobody is coming to save you. No one is coming. The only person that's going to save me is me. I am here no one's coming.
Wow.
And when I realized that no one was coming, I realized I can't look at the outside and say they're the victimizers and I'm the victim, and then look over here and say, where's my hero that's going to come and save me? I realized I have to save me. I have to be the one that rises up. I have to be the one that says, no more. I'm not going to tolerate this. And I'm not going to do this anymore. And in that process, when I realized no one was coming to save me and I had to be the one to step up and save myself, that's when I got really honest with myself. And I realized when I was pointing the finger at everybody else and how much they had done me wrong, I realized I had done a lot of wrong.
Wow.
I was doing wrong as well. It is not and never is one side is wrong and the other side is right. Never. And if you are stuck in a place saying that side is 100% wrong and we are 100% right, your arrogance and your pride are going to ruin your life, and you're going to make terrible decisions that are going to impact you and your children and your children's children because of your arrogance and your pride and your inability to humble yourself and say, I am a participant in the problem.
Powerful.
And I want to change and be the participant in the solution. And that is up to you individually because no one is coming. I'm not coming. Roland's not coming. No one's coming. Only you are there, and you have to make the decision. Am I going to participate in the problem, or am I going to participate in the solution? And choose wisely, my friends, because it will impact you, your children, and your children's children. And do 40,000 more people need to die? How many more people need to die?
Yeah.
Because we can't humble ourselves and come to a solution. We can't humble ourselves and say, you know what, I played a part in this as well. If everybody comes to the table humble and saying we all want the same thing, peace and prosperity in our country, so that our children and our children's children can rise above this dark day from this dark chapter in our country's history. It takes everybody. And you can't control everybody, but you can control you.
Powerful. Powerful. That's so good. Mr. Matthew, like, you were betrayed by the people around you. This is not some outside force. It was all around you.
Yeah.
Because this mission that we are on, it is a 20 years plan to move the nation forward. Right now, our GDP is approximately $47 billion.
Okay.
The goal is to move the national GDP to approximately 1 trillion in the next 20 years in the private sector.
Yeah.
That is the vision. And we've carefully selected 7 industries that are making the most millionaires today. And we are saying, if we focus on these industries, just like how South Korea did, we can be able to grow and scale businesses in the private sector that can employ other citizens, and we will come out of poverty. Now, our goal is to model a nation like America. And that is why I invite you, because just the mindset that we need to succeed is very essential on this mission.
Yeah.
So Mr. Matthew, what drives you guys in this nation that many others in other parts of the world don't get it? Like, what drives you?
It's a double. Ooh, man, I think the thing that drives us hurts us. And I think for every time you find something that works really well, there's another side to that coin that can be negative. And I would say within the United States, there's things about us that drive us. One of the things that drives us is that we are ambitious people who chase after building generational wealth for our families. Like we want to, like in our country, the people who are succeeding, the people who are working hard, the people who are doing things in life, they're doing things in such a way that I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for my children. And if I do it well enough, maybe my children's children can be a blessing from the activities that I have. And maybe long after I'm gone, my multiple generations will say, hey, that guy Matthew, he was a generational change. He changed my family. He didn't change the whole world, maybe, but he changed my family. And that's what I care about, more than anything. So there's a drive and ambition that's in us. So here's what happens is we have an independent spirit inside of America. That's something that you hear all the time. We're very independent. We're very strong-willed. But the pros of that is that sometimes we get really focused and we want to achieve and achieve and achieve. What happens sometimes is that we in the United States get very focused on flashy things. And we want to get the boats and the cars, and we want to have, all the luxury items that come in, and we start to consume everything. And so we become consumers when we start to achieve. And you see us here, and I'm wearing a fancy watch. I see that you're wearing a fancy watch. There's nothing wrong with a fancy watch, right?
Yes.
But we have jewelry on. I think I've got some necklace on. And so like we have jewelry. I have a nice car. I have a nice house. But what can happen is in the United States, at least, we can get so focused on the achieving of the stuff that we forget about people, and we start to get very consumeristic. So that's the challenging side of what we do. The things on the side of us that is really good is that because we're so independent and because there's nobody coming to save us, and is that you have to go do it on your own. We're the land of the free and the home of the brave, they say, And so the land of the free, you're free. You're free to pursue whatever it is you want to pursue. And as you start to pursue it, you have a lot more freedom in our country to be able to pursue what it is you want to pursue. Not every country has that. And I don't know the intricacies of Cameroon, but I've been all over South America. I've been to Haiti. I've been to all kinds of third world countries, and I see the differences between what they have available to them and what we have available to us. And I do see it as a giant blessing that the culture of America is this. If you see the potential for Cameroon to go from 40 billion to $1 trillion in GDP, that is a incredible vision, and you can get there. There's no reason you can't get there. The war has to stop. So you have to be stopped. And sometimes you got to make a decision like, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? Because sometimes it's like, I can die on that I'm going to be right hill. And I don't know, like there's times where you got to make compromises. I think in the United States, one of our things is that we are very tenacious with what we do. And it creates independence. And that independence can sometimes be damaging to the people around us because we're so focused on achieving position and success.
Yeah. So one of my goals in achieving this project, Mr. Williams, is making sure that democracy is being promoted throughout the nation. I've been blessed incredibly by America. I've studied in this nation, learned and keep learning from people like you and many other mentors and coaches and partners that have come along my journey. You touched on something very important. You said, I'm doing this for my children.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for the next generation. That is, if others come after you're gone, they're able to say, this is who Matthew was, and this is what he did for his family, in spite the challenges that he faced on his journey.
Yeah.
Someone will hear that and say, this man sounds like someone that is community oriented. That is, they are not just thinking about themselves. They have this generational thinking in their approach to life. But we come from a society where we want to do this in a community. But most of the time, it doesn't work. Because why? You can't get everyone to align. But you as an individual can emerge and say, this is what I want to push for.
Yeah.
So now the dichotomy is there are individuals that might look at what Roland came up with and they say, okay, because it is Roland and Roland is not part of our circle, he's not part of our tribe, he's not speaking French like those who speak French. So how do we mobilize behind this vision? Right? So there is that focus on the group that you belong to more than the idea that you are initiating. So now, but when someone hears an American, they might think that because he is ambitious, then what he is pursuing is not for the best interest of the community.
Right.
So, so how do you balance that? Because even with everything you have gone through, I still hear you talking about family. You still keep talking about the next generation. How do you balance the two?
Well, yeah. So I mean, I've had to work really hard at keep my mind focused on that, because the temptation is to at times say, forget it. I'm just going to focus on me, and I'm not going to take care of anybody else. And that is a temptation, right? I think all of us have that. Well, I don't know. I think in America we do. We have that in the United States. But I would say that I'm always focused on. I don't know. That's just something that's core inside of me. I can't not think about that. I've been raised from a young age. My dad was focused that way. My brother's focused that way. My whole family. We are very much focused on next generation and how are we building something for those that are coming behind us. And I don't need any credit. Like, that's the other side too. Like, I don't need credit. I don't need someone to be 3 generations ago. Oh, that Matt Williams, he did. I don't care. That I don't, that does not impact me. My legacy isn't what I do. My legacy is what my kids are going to do. And if I accomplish this much, I hope what I accomplish in my lifetime pales in comparison to what my own children accomplish in this lifetime. I hope my kids are so successful and so good, and are so good with their own kids and their own families and everything that they're doing in the world, that my accomplishments are minuscule in comparison to theirs. I don't want my name to be the one that goes, oh yeah, 3 generations ago, that guy made a difference. No. I want my kids to do so well that they forget my name.
Powerful. So then how do you speak in a situation where, Mr. Matthew, I love the mindset. I mean, it's brilliant. How? Because I come from a community where the previous generation is prioritized compared to the next generation.
Oh.
So it's like we are working for the past.
But so you want to make the people behind you proud.
Proud.
You want them to, you're doing this so that your parents look down and say, oh, I'm proud of what you're doing.
Yes, not only that, that is a good thing, right? It's a good ambition. That
yeah.
I walk, that my parents and those behind me be proud. No, the mindset I'm talking about is walking to sustain the past, not to sustain the next generation. So now if I make money, the next thing is I think more about the house that my parents live in than the house that my children are living in.
Wow. Is that like a mental thing across the whole country? That's a cultural thing?
That is a cultural thing. And that is what we are shifting with this project. That is what we are changing with this initiative.
Got it.
And so because that focus now, if I'm building a church, the children's center is probably the last thing.
Wow.
So I make sure that the room is well structured for the elders, and the children are the last thing. If it's was okay, we just bring them in and we put them on our laps and sit down. So this is the kind of mindset. I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but that you get the point.
I get the point.
So how does that mindset shift to focus on the future, on the next generation?
Okay, I would say there's a balance. If you were very heavily focused on the previous generation, taking care of them, that I don't think that's bad.
Yeah.
But if you're 80% focused on them and 20% focused on your future, it's gonna hamstring you. And if you really get down, I think the elders, if you go really ask them, like, what would they really, really want? They would want to see, like, because they're not going to be here much longer.
Yeah.
Right. They're dying. None of us get out of here alive.
Yeah.
Like they're dying. And every old person I've ever talked to, they talk about what their kids are going to be doing, what they're looking that way. And I think if you're in the middle and you're between the two, you got to have a balance. Take care of your elders, of course.
Yeah.
But if 50-50, don't be doing 80-90% to your elders and 10-20% to your future. If you do that, then your country is going to get stuck. Your culture is going to be stuck, and you're not going to make progress. You're going to make decisions maintaining your past instead of decisions to progress your country forward. You've got to focus forward. You've got to look to the future. Looking to the future, otherwise you're sacrificing your future to pay for your past.
Mm. Because if you hear, Mr. Matthew, what some of these young men that are holding guns are saying when they are being caught up, maybe in arm's way with the government, being arrested or being killed, what they say is, we were fighting to give independence to our parents.
Wow.
You don't
That is a
hear them say,
huge, huge cultural shift that you are fighting.
yes,
Huge. You, you have to change that. That has to shift. The war will never end. If you're you got to change and say, I'm not focused on the past, protecting the honor of the past. I'm working hard to protect my future and my children. You have to be future focused. If you're past focused, you're gonna be hanging on to the hurts from the past. You'll have the bitterness from the past, and you'll have all the anger from the past. In fact, anger is a secondary emotion.
yeah,
Anger is not a primary emotion, it's a secondary emotion. And anger comes from the place of either you were wronged, which you can absolutely point, anybody. I can point, you can point, anybody can point at any time to ways that they've been wronged. We have all been wronged on some way or another. So you've been wronged, or you don't feel heard. And if you don't feel heard, that drives anger as well, because you will feel like you need to get louder in order to have yourself heard by the other side. In your situation, you have both actual hurt that's actually happening, and if the 25% has not been heard, that's what's driving it. To calm the anger that's going on in this war, you're going to have to be heard in a healthy way, and you're going to have to resolve the past, and you can only do that internally. Only I can choose. Forgiveness is a choice that I have to make. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness isn't saying you can keep walking all over me. Forgiveness isn't saying you can keep abusing me. Forgiveness isn't saying that. No, forgiveness is saying I choose to let it go. And you can still hold boundaries, and you can still say, no, this is how things are going to go moving forward, but I'm going to let go of what was. Yeah. And unforgiveness, hanging on to the past like that, it is a popular saying, but it's like you drinking poison thinking the other person's going to die. That's because so you're the one that has the unforgiveness. You're the one that it's messing you up inside. Your unforgiveness is driving your anger. Your unforgiveness is driving your anxiety and driving all these feelings of revenge and everything else. That your unforgiveness is driving you. The other person has no idea. Yeah. Your everything going on inside of you they don't care. They didn't even, you're thinking about them all the time. They don't think about you. Yep. Say that again. Yeah. Right? They aren't thinking about you. You're thinking about them. And your own internal thoughts are being consumed because of your unforgiveness. And you have to find a way to forgive them. It's not saying, you can still have boundaries. You can still protect yourself. You can do this, but you have to get to a place where you're like, I'm not going to be ruminating and stewing on and just regurgitating in my mind over and over all the wrongs that they did and how terrible these people are and what they've done to me. And because everybody has opportunity for that. Yeah. I was wronged in multiple ways by multiple people. The closest people in my life wronged me on the deepest levels. I was betrayed on the deepest levels in my life. And it is a choice that I have to make. You know, when Jesus was teaching in the Bible, the disciples came and talked to him like, do I have to forgive them once, or do I forgive them 7 times? And Jesus said, no, you got to forgive them 70 times 7. Yeah. And so I think it's easy for us to pull out our calculator and go like, well, that would be this many times. The principle of what Jesus is saying is every day that you wake up in the morning, you have to choose forgiveness. Yeah. And it's really, really hard in the beginning. And every day you got to wake up and you got to choose forgiveness. It gets a little easier and a little easier and a little easier and a little easier. And then there's a day you wake up and you don't have to choose forgiveness because what you've been forgiving for all this time stops to come into your head. Yeah. And you wake up in the morning and it's not the first thought in your head that comes up. And it might be 2 or 3 hours before that thought comes up, and then you got to forgive them again. Wow. And forgiveness is a choice that you make over and over and over and over and over and over again until you don't have to anymore. Wow, powerful, Mr. Mario. I mean, I'm having goosebumps, tons of value that I've got out of this video, and I'm sure many watching are blessed as well. One last question, and then I'll let you go.
as a serial entrepreneur, I think we have a segue right here a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, as a serial entrepreneur, what advice will you give to someone that is looking to grow and scale their business?
Um, Systems equals scale. If you
Okay.
want to grow and scale your business, you have to put systems in place. If you are a single person entrepreneur by yourself, you are the system. Like you get up in the morning and you just do the thing that you know you can do. But as soon as you want to expand, you have to bring other people on your team. So you have to have other employees and other people, contractors, whatever. But as soon as you want to bring other people, you have to be able to like write down like, oh, what are the steps in order to train somebody? You got to write down the steps and how to train them. So now you got to build a system around that. If you want to scale your company, systems are how you scale. So I know this is like a hard shift from where we were, but with entrepreneurship, it's that.
I know.
Yeah, but you got to create systems how to scale your company. And so what happens is your business starts to run on its own. So pretty soon you have people, that are running your company for you, and you create an organizational chart, and you have different departments inside of your company. Right now, I only have the one. I sold off the other three last year. I have only one business left right now. But that business right now, I have a team of people out in the field. There's men and women in trucks that are driving out to go do services on people's houses, and then they're coming back at the end of the day to the office. So I have a department inside of my company called the Field Services Department, and I have somebody in charge of that. And so my Field Services Director is running the Field Services Department. In order for that to happen, I have to be able to write systems and processes, and my Field Service Director and I work on getting that done together. And then he then takes it down to the people below him. And now it's a clear systems and processes, copy and paste. Now everybody's doing the same thing everywhere. And so no matter who shows up to your house to do the work that we're supposed to be doing on your house, you're getting the same process and the same result every time. And it's a different person there, but it's happening. And then the same thing, I have an operations department. I have an operations director that then has people underneath of her. And when people call into the phone to schedule something or change something, my operations department has systems and processes. And get as detailed as you can with that stuff so that your people can then know how to execute on the plan. Just like a sports team, you have a play. Your coach has designed a play, and it has the X's and the O's, and you have the people with the arrows. They've got to move over here, and the person's going to kick the ball. The soccer player's going to kick the ball over here, or maybe baseball or it's American football. You're going to throw the ball, whatever it might be. You have a game plan.
Yeah.
Everybody on the team has to know that game plan. That game plan is the system and is the process for that team to be successful. In order for your company and your company to be successful and to grow and scale, you have to create plays that are detailed, that everybody knows what the play is, so they all run the same play so that you can win the game.
Wow. So let's take it a little bit deeper. So if you have, can you break down maybe one strategy on how you come up with a system? I'm saying this for a purpose, right? Because we are building a community where people have lost trust in one another.
Yeah.
We need systems.
Yeah.
We are building a community where people don't trust the government. They don't trust one another. They don't even believe that they can start and grow a business if they don't have all the money. So when you're talking about systems, what can you cite as an example? Like, give me a basic example of how a system can be created.
Yeah.
By you, the visionary. Yeah.
Okay. So here's one that I created recently. Up until recently, I was running the payroll for my company. And I was doing that. And so here's what I did is I turned on a camera. So I took a cell phone camera, and I had a tripod, and it was sitting next to me, shining at me. And then I had my computer doing a screen record. So it was recording everything that's going on the screen. And so all I did is, if I'm going to be running payroll, I hit record on the camera, I hit record on my computer, and I just start talking out loud. Okay, today is Monday, and I'm going to run payroll for the last 2 weeks. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this program. And when you open up this program, you want to hit this button here, click on this tab here, and you're going to go down here to run this report. Now, in this report, you have to put your dates in, and so I start going step by step, and I'm talking through it, and there's a whole video now for it, right? So then what I do, and so then I just talk myself all the way through it.
Yeah.
Then at the end, I go back and I watch my own video and I say, okay, did what I was saying make sense? Is it lined up with the content of what I'm doing? And so then I kind of create a little video on how exactly to do this for running payroll. When I was out in the field, so that's a little mini system that I put together right there. So now if somebody else wants to run payroll, they can play the video back and they can watch the screen and they can hear me talking and they can see me going through everything and exactly what it is that I'm clicking on the screens and how it's going. And so
Wow.
now I have a system in place that's transferable. Anybody can watch the video, anybody can do it.
Powerful.
Same thing. If
So
you have, yeah.
Yeah. One last thing within that. I mean, like, this is so powerful, Mr. Matthew. Now, you have the system
Yep.
that anyone that you employ can watch that video and start doing exactly what you did.
Yep.
What if you have someone come in and they say, I have my own way of doing things. I don't want to follow the system that you've created. How do you deal with that to create alignment, right? Because alignment is everything. A system cannot work if there is no alignment.
Correct. So you got to have alignment within your company. Absolutely. And so I have what I call the MVVC. It's a mission, vision, values, and culture. Okay. And so you take the time as an entrepreneur and the business owner. Sometimes it's just like I created this when I was just me. I didn't have any employees yet. And I started really thinking through this and working my way through this whole idea. So I sat down and thought, okay, what's the vision of my company? Where am I going to be in the future? And so I had to put that down. And then I also had to write the mission of what we're going to do. The vision is an internal thing. That's me and my employees. They know this is where we're headed. The mission, that's an internal thing. The mission statement is what everybody else sees. And so out in the outside world, they see this. So the mission statement is on, and then we have values, what we value, right? And so one of my values, for example, is we are thermostats, not thermometers. A thermometer can tell you what the temperature is in the room. A thermostat reads the temperature of the room and changes it to what it should be. So when we walk into the room, people might be angry. They might be happy. They might be upset. They might be distant. They might be scared. They might be nervous. They might be whatever they might be. But when we show up in the room, it's sometimes you walk into a room and you're like, ooh, this is a weird vibe. I don't know what's happening here. And you got to kind of figure out what's happening, right? And it's okay. Take a second, figure it out. And once you figure out all these people are kind of nervous, guess what? I'm the thermometer. I'm the thermostat, not the thermometer. So I'm gonna start raising the temperature to what it needs to be. I'm gonna take it to where it should be, and I'm gonna be the leader in this environment and space. So that's one of our values. Is that we're a thermostat, we're not a thermometer. Another one of our values is that we have a work-life balance, and so we don't live to work, we work to live. And
beautiful.
And so we want to have a work-life balance. Hey, when we're at work, we're going to work hard and have a good time. But we're not going to work so much it damages our home life and our spouse and our family. Wow. And in the United States, we have a 40-hour work week. That's our standard.
Yes.
Yeah. And so basically, we set up our business that guys should be working about 40 hours a week. If they're working more than that, I mean, I just did it a couple of weeks ago. I noticed one of my guys was coming back to the office like an hour or two later than everyone else. And it happened like a few days in a row. And so I just reached out to him and I said, hey, Shane, I noticed that you've been working extra late lately. I want to make sure that you're okay. One of our values is work-life balance. And in that work-life balance, I want to make sure that you're okay, your home life is okay, and that, and it wasn't a criticism of, are you putting in too many hours? Am I paying you overtime? Watch out, we got a budget to keep. It wasn't that. It was I care about you and your family based on a value we have in our company.
Powerful. So on that note, Mr. Matthew, I think I would love to have you back again. I think I will. I mean, what you are sharing is so integral. I mean, like, very important for what we are doing here. So if someone doesn't align with your values, what do? You let them go?
I give them opportunity to change.
Okay.
It is way cheaper in both financially, way cheaper in every aspect to get them to adapt into your system than to just fire them immediately. But we sit down. Hey, when I hired you, and we use this in the interview process, we have it all printed out. It's a nice graphical. It looks nice and pretty. And we give it to them. We're like, this is who we are and this is what we're about. And we go through all of those values. all of them. I have eight values in there. We go through our vision and our mission, and I go through all of them and read them. I read them to them, and they're looking at it. So in the interview process, like, we make sure we're onboarding people with that in mind. So then if they're not upholding it, it's like, hey, listen, this is how we do things here, and I feel like you're having a hard time here. How can I help you do better in this area? And let's have a conversation about it. And if they're not able to adapt, if they're not able to get up to the level of where we need them, yeah, I'll let them go.
Powerful. Okay. That's awesome. So as we wrap up this session, Mr. Matthew, what is the one thing that you would love to leave our audience with? I think we've started with the problem.
Yeah.
We've gotten into the solution.
Yeah.
We've looked at how you can come up with systems with the business that you're creating and how those systems can help you scale and grow.
Yeah.
So I think we've walked through this journey for over 1 hour. So what is the one thing you leave our audience with?
You don't get anything from me, get this. Your mind is like a fertile soil, and what you want to grow in there will grow in there. And not every thought that comes into your mind is something that needs to plant into that soil, because the wind blows the seeds through. The dandelion seeds, if you blow it and you blow the plant and the seeds start flowing, those seeds float and then they're going to land. Thoughts are going to float into your head. Not every thought that floats into your head needs to land in your soil. And you can filter that. Sometimes that thought comes in and you're like, oh, that person wronged me and I can't believe what they just did. That thought wants to land in your head. You have the ability to go like, no, I'm not going to allow that thought to land into my head. I'm going to pluck that out and remove it and choose not to allow it to stay. I'm going to let that one float in this side and float out the other.
Yeah.
It's fertile, grow. So filter your thoughts. Think about what you're thinking about, and don't allow the enemy. And I would say it's a spiritual warfare thing where even the enemy is putting thoughts into your head. Those thoughts are not every thought that comes into your head is the truth. Not every thought that comes into your head is accurate. Not every thought that comes into your head is something that you want to land and plant into your fertile soil. Your mindset matters more than anything. Filter the thoughts and allow your soil to grow healthy things in your mind, not toxic things.
Wow. That is a mouthful of words, but beautiful, beautiful. I think this session was exceptional. I just want to appreciate your presence pouring on the people so that they can think different. This was exceptional. And thank
Absolutely.
you so much for honoring this invitation. And I look forward to having further conversations on this subject.
Yeah, thank you so much. If you want to connect with me, you want to follow me, Instagram is the best way, Instagram. And that is the.matthew.williams. So THE.Matthew, MATTHEW.Williams. Find me on Instagram, follow me there. If you want to follow up with questions, you can DM me right on Instagram. Either myself or someone on my team is going to grab that. And thank you so much, Roland, for having me on the show and on your thing. I just really appreciate it, the opportunity to come and share.
Amazing. Everybody, I think you've heard it. Take it and run with it. I hope you were taking notes and got some value out of this video. The next thing is write it down. What was your greatest takeaway? We want that in the comment section. Follow Mr. Matthew Williams on Instagram. And let's keep doing this. Let's keep doing this. This is how change happens, when we plug into new information and let that information change the previous information. And as we act on this new one, that is how we make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Matthew Williams, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.